911, what is your emergency? Yeah, hi. This is going to sound a bit strange, but there's a man stumbling around in circles in my front yard. Could you repeat that, sir? He looks sick or lost or drunk or something. I just woke up to get a glass of water and heard snow crunching around underneath my front window, so I peeked out. I'm looking at him right now. He's about 10 yards from my window. Something's not right. What is your address, sir? 1617 Quarry Lane in Pinella Pass. I'm going to send a squad car your way, but that's quite a ways out. Are you alone in your house, sir? Yeah, I'm alone. Can you confirm that all of your doors and windows are locked? Stay on the phone with me. I know that my front door is definitely locked, but I'll go check my back door again really quick. I appreciate your help, by the way. I know this is kind of strange, but I really hope that... Sir, are you still there? He's still in the yard, but what the fuck? He's upside down. Sir, stay on with me. What is happening? He's staring right at me, but he's standing on his hands now. He's perfectly still, just staring straight at me. He's doing a handstand and smiling at me, and he's not moving. He's doing a handstand, sir. I don't know how he's facing me and standing on his hands, and he's got this huge smile, and he's perfectly still, like, what the fuck? Can somebody please get someone here now? Sir, I need you to remain calm. I've put out the call and an officer is on his way. His teeth are so huge, like, what the fuck? Please help me. Sir, I want you to try and keep an eye on him, but make sure your back door is locked again. We need to make sure all possible access points are secured. Can you talk me through and confirm that your back door is locked? Yeah, okay, I'm walking backwards now. I'm gonna keep him in my eyesight. My hand is on the back door knob now. It's locked. I just need to check the deadbolt, so I'm gonna take my eyes off him for a split second. Alright, sir, help is on the way. Just stay on the phone with me. Everything's going to be alright. Sir? Sir, are you there? His face is up against the glass. Sir, I need you to speak up. I can't hear you. What is happening? I looked away for a split second and now his face is pressed up against my window. His teeth are huge and he's smiling. There's no colour in his eyes. Please, Jesus, help me. Why won't it just fucking move? Sir, I need you to go to the nearest room and lock yourself inside. Do you have a basement or a bedroom that you can lock yourself in? He won't stop staring. He's going to hurt me. Sir, I need you to listen to me. Lock yourself somewhere safe until the officer arrives at your house. Can you hear me? Yes, I'm going to lock myself in my room. And you're positive that you are in the house alone, sir, correct? Yes, I'm in the house alone. Wait a moment. He's moving. He's shaking his head. He's telling me no. He can hear us. He's telling me I'm not alone. Sir? Sir, are you still there? I heard a loud noise. Is everything all right? Sir? I was the 911 operator for the gentleman at 1617 Pinella Pass. This is very urgent, so I'll get right to it. I pulled some strings with my colleagues in the department and I was able to obtain a copy of the police report that the officers filed in regards to the call 2 weeks ago. I've got to be extremely careful about covering up the officer's personal information. The investigation is still ongoing and there's been some weird stuff happening. You'll see what I mean below. The police and the news departments are all in a frenzy trying to keep the details quiet for now, and there is a palpable feeling of uneasiness circulating the town. If my bosses find out that I am telling you this here, I will lose my job, so be it. This is the only official statement being released to the public tomorrow morning. Harrogate Police Department advises all homes and businesses within 5 miles of 1617 Quarry Lane, Pinella Pass to secure all windows and doors by any extra security measures available, effective immediately. A curfew is in effect for all citizens in the city of Harrogate. All persons found on the street after sundown will be held and questioned in regards to suspicious cult activity. A police barrier has been placed around the perimeter of the quarry in south-east Harrogate. No one is to enter this restricted zone until further notice. Any and all persons found attempting to enter this restricted zone will be subdued on site. Officers have been ordered to use force at their own discretion. There will be no exceptions. And here is the transcript of the actual police report filed by the officer that arrived on the scene. I don't know how my friend got a copy of this, and honestly, I don't want to know. Begin report. Officer, redacted, approached the premises of 1617 Pinella Pass at 4:37 a.m. on the 14th of February 2013 in response to a 911 dispatch report of a suspicious person. The officer immediately noted that there were no lights on in the premises, and there was no response after the officer repeatedly knocked on the door while identifying himself. Officer, redacted, then noticed a series of erratic footprints and handprints in the snow leading up to the home's bay window. Officer, redacted, noted no evidence of forced entry into the home through the bay window. Upon examining the rear of the house, the officer noted another set of footprints originating from the edge of the quarry approximately 20 yards from the house and leading directly towards the back of the property. The prints seemed to be as though the person was standing on their tiptoes, and they were spaced out extraordinarily far apart, indicating that this individual was able to cover an immense amount of ground in relatively few strides. The officer then noted a series of marks, presumed to be hand and footprints, leading directly up the aluminium siding of the house and ending immediately under an attic window on the 3rd floor. There were no ladders or cables visible which could have assisted in the invader in reaching the 3rd-story window. On the copy of the report that I have, the sergeant of our police department circled this section and wrote in the margin, "Investigation and verification needed immediately." Upon completion of the officer's survey and his inability to enter the house without a lawful warrant, Officer Redacted began driving away in his squad car at approximately 4:43 a.m. As he was calling the station to report his findings, he claims to have witnessed several pale, smiling faces appear in every window of the house, each wearing an expression of what he later described as eager and amused curiosity. End report. As I said, the city issued curfews and information about the restricted zones will be announced tomorrow, but I thought I would alert everyone on here first. As far as I know, the exact details of the report are being held in confidentiality because, as you can see, there are some unsettling things surrounding this entire incident. I have just had a call from another co-worker friend of mine from the emergency dispatch staff, and they have called to inform me that the officer that was called to the scene has gone missing. You will definitely hear about that tomorrow if you live anywhere near this area. Police units from nearby counties are being brought in to assist with the search. I say this as a dispatcher. Police take these ordinances seriously and report any suspicious findings. According to my friend, the officer's wife was the last person to have seen him. Apparently, as he was leaving his home, he muttered something about wanting to check out that house again. Everybody, stay safe. Initial 911 call came in at 10:45 p.m. on the 1st of December 2020. 911, what is the nature of your emergency? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's an emergency, but could you please send someone? Do you need police or is this a medical emergency? Could you send an officer out? I mean, I don't know. It could just be some kids messing around or something, but... Hello? I'd feel better if someone came to check. What's your address? 1056, redacted. And what is your name? It's Chloe Fella. Okay, Chloe, I have officers on the way. What's going on? Well, I was calling my dog in from the backyard and she was growling at something out there. I couldn't see what, though. I finally got her to come inside, and the second I closed the door and locked it, something smacked into the glass window. Not hard enough to break it, but it was hard enough to rattle the door. And what time was this? About 5 minutes ago. And were you able to see anyone? No, there's blinds on my back door and they were down. But I heard the doorknob jiggling a few times before I called you. Shush, doggy, shush, shush. Good girl, good girl. I yelled that I was calling the police and the noises stopped, but like I said, it could just be some kids, I don't know. Okay, have you heard any of the noises since then? No, just the door, but my dog's still growling. Okay, I have an officer en route to you. Are the doors and the windows still locked? Yes, they're locked. Alright, an officer should be out to you shortly. Stay inside and keep the doors locked until the officer arrives, okay? Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Call ended. Officer Kane was dispatched to the location. He saw no signs of any persons around the property. He did note that the dog was still anxious and growling at the back door. He advised Miss Fella to keep her doors locked and call if she should see or hear anything else. 911 came in at 1:27 a.m. at 2/12/2020. 911, what is your emergency? It's me again. Can you send the officer back out, please? Is this for 1056 redacted? Yes, someone was just looking in through my front window. Can you just send someone? I have an officer en route to you. You said you saw someone looking through your window? Yes, I was in bed, but Ginger, my dog, ran to the front door growling. I pulled up the blinds a bit, but I didn't see anything at first, and then a face just popped up, and but just the top of their head and eyes, like they were playing peekaboo or something. I screamed, and Ginger started barking and going nuts, and the person popped down out of view again. And how long ago was this? A few minutes ago. They popped up again just before I called you. But they went back down onto the window. I'm in my bedroom now. And did you recognise the person, ma'am? No, I just saw their eyes and the top of their head, but they looked, I don't know, like a mime of something. A mime? Yes, with white makeup on their face and head. I don't know, really disturbing. Okay, I just want you to stay on the phone with me until the officer arrives. Just stay in your room until you hear them. Okay. Does your bedroom door have a lock? Yes, it's locked. Dispatch stayed on the line with Miss Fella until officers arrived. Officers arrived and announced themselves 11 minutes later, and the call was terminated. Officer Coupland and Officer Smith arrived on scene to find Chloe Fella in great distress. Miss Fella claimed to have seen a mime at her door. Officers noted that Miss Fella did not seem under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and Miss Fella seemed anxious but lucid. Miss Fella had pointed to the officers where she'd seen the suspect peeping through her window. The glass had no visible marks on it other than a smear of white paint. Officers stated that the impressions on the ground looked as if there had been someone standing barefoot on the tip of their toes. Officers checked the area and the field surrounding the home and found a trail of footprints leading away from the home to the woods behind Miss Fella's home. When followed, the footprints seemed to be erratic and moving in a zigzag pattern. The prints stopped abruptly at a large tree, but there were no signs of any persons in said tree. The footprints looked to be made by someone who was walking barefoot and solely on their toes. Officers checked the woods but found nothing of note. Officers spoke with the closest neighbours a half a mile down the road, but the neighbours stated they hadn't heard or seen anything out of the ordinary. Officers reminded Miss Fella to keep her doors locked and advised her to call back if the person or persons returned. 911 call came in at 3:41 a.m. on the 2nd of December 2020. 911, what is your emergency? Need the police here now. Is this for 1056 redacted? Yes, I just saw that person looking through my bedroom window again. I was asleep and heard tapping on my window, and when I looked up, that face was pressed against the glass again. How long will the police take to get here? I have officers en route to you now, Miss Fella. Can you lock yourself in your bedroom? No, it was still tapping on the glass when I left. It keeps smiling at me. I'm upstairs in my office. It has a lock. Ginger, come here. Ginger, come here, doggy. Ginger. Okay, Chloe. Smiling! It was smiling at me like mouthing words or something, but I don't know what. They didn't have eyelids. Okay, Chloe, just calm down. Officers are not far from you. I don't understand what... Are you still there? I heard something. I think they're in the house. You need to stay quiet if you need to. I'm still on the line. It sounds like... Wait a second. No! Oh my god! Oh my god! Ginger, come here. Chloe, are you alright? Can you tell me what's happening? Ginger, come here. Ginger. Chloe? I'm in. Hello? I'm here. I'm in the downstairs bathroom. Where are the police? They're 4 minutes out, Chloe. They're doing their best to get to you as fast as they can. Just try and remain calm. You're doing great. He got inside the fucking vent. Chloe, did you say that the person was inside your vents? Can you clarify what you mean? Like in the fucking vent, like the vent that the heat comes out of. I heard something moving in there and I bent down to flip open the vent and I saw that white face staring out. Chloe, how big are your air vents? Chloe? The standard size, I don't know, 6 inches or so. Not big enough for a fucking person to crawl through, but they did it. They've done it. They did. Okay, take deep breaths. Officers are less than 2 minutes out. Oh my god, why is taking so long? Just keep the door locked and I think It's okay to remain quiet. I'm here. Do you have anything you can use as a weapon? I have the towel bar. Oh my god, he's poking his fingers through. Ah! Officers Mebarak and PK arrive on scene approximately 56 seconds later. The front door was open prior to their arrival and there were obvious signs of a struggle throughout the home. Officers called out to Miss Fella but did not get a response. Officer PK found the dog in the downstairs laundry room staring into the vent and whimpering. The dog had obvious cuts and scrapes around the snout and paw area, attempting to enter the vent. Traces of white makeup were found on most of the windows in the home and inside of the glass. After a thorough investigation, officers collected blood and hair samples inside 4 of the vents throughout the home, along with fingernails that were embedded in one of the grates. More traces of white paint were found inside of all the vents in the home. Hair samples matched the hair length and colour of Miss Fella's. It is noted that all of the air vents in the home were measured at 6 by 10 inches, much too small for a person to move through or even fit inside. To date, Miss Fella is still missing and there is a reward for any information leading to her whereabouts. 9:15 p.m. 911, what is your emergency? Hello? Yes, ma'am? Hello, please, you gotta help me. I think there's someone in my house. What's your address? 165 Deerfield Road. Please, you gotta get someone out here fast. Yes, ma'am. I've got officers that are coming out there. They're on the way now. Can you tell me what's wrong? I think someone's been following me and they're in my house right now. Was there a break-in? Is anyone hurt? No, no break-in. I don't know how they got in or how long they've been here for. Oh my god. Ma'am? What's happening? Ma'am? 10:38 p.m. 911, what's your emergency?
Hello, is there anybody there?
Ma'am, how old are you?
I'm 5.
What's your name?
Erica?
Okay, Erica, and can you tell me what's going on?
I can't find my mummy.
Okay, and where did you last see your mummy?
In the hallway, standing in front of Jackie.
And who's Jackie?
He's the man who comes to see me at my window at night.
Can you tell me what your address is?
It's, 148 Deerfield Road.
And can you tell me a little bit more about Jackie?
No.
Why not?
He doesn't want me to.
And why's that?
He said if I tell you about him, he's going to kill Mummy.
Is he there right now?
Yes.
And can I speak with him? Hello, is this Jackie? Hello, what was that noise? These are the transcripts of 2 calls I responded to a few nights ago. When the police arrived at the first caller's house, there was nobody home. No man, no intruder, and nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing. When the police arrived at the second house, they found the body of a child, her face peeled off, her mother's body twisted into odd shapes, and a dog who had been flayed and put on display over the front door. After the second call, the rest of my shift was quiet. No other calls were made that night. I will return tomorrow with the transcripts of all calls made to me while I'm on tonight's shift. I would also like to describe the strange events that transpired after I was done with my shift. I walked home, as I live nearby the station. The walk was pretty normal, however, once I reached my apartment, I thought I saw a man staring at me from across the street. I did a bit of a double take, and when I glanced back in his direction, he was gone. This was just as the sun was rising, and its ray of light were peeking out from behind the trees. Once I was inside, I don't know, I just guess I'm paranoid. I'm used to getting strange calls, but this was different. I have never gotten anything this unsettling, but I could have sworn whenever I walked by the mirror or a reflective surface, I could see someone standing behind me, but when I turned around, there would be nobody there. The next shift was like the rest of my strange shift, silent, which was perhaps even stranger. People called 911, of course, but my phone specifically never rang. But I'm expecting to hear of this Jackie again tonight, because earlier today, there was a knock on my door, and a letter slid through my mail slot. I picked it up and it was nothing but a blank piece of paper with a smiley face drawn on it. I don't know why, but something tells me not to report this and to just go about my shift answering calls like I normally do. Good night, and I'll be back tomorrow. 911, what is your emergency? Hello? Yeah, I'm in a plane and it's... Hello, ma'am? What was that? Did you say you were on a plane? Yeah, I'm on a plane. I don't know what's happening. Okay, ma'am. Can you tell me what's wrong? I was on a flight. A flight? Yeah, I was on a flight to Bolivia. From where? And it was all going fine. We took off. The plane was full and the pilot was speaking, giving us the rundown. You know, you've been on a plane before, right? Yes, I have, ma'am. What's the issue? Well, it was night time and flight had a few hours, so I figured I'd go to sleep and then... It's okay, ma'am. What's happening when you try to go to sleep? I went to sleep, but when I woke up on the plane... Ma'am, it's okay. What happened to you when you woke up? The plane is completely empty. Empty? Yeah, empty. Yes, it's empty. Completely empty. And my daughter, Erica, oh my God, my daughter is gone and I don't know where she is. It's okay, ma'am. I'm sure your daughter is fine. The plane is completely empty. Are you still in the air? Yes, in as far as I'm aware, the plane hasn't landed at all. I just woke up and it's empty. Okay, well, who's flying the plane? That's the other thing. The plane, it's not moving. It's not moving? It's completely stationary in the air. The plane isn't moving, but it's in the air. Oh God, what is happening to me? Am I gonna die? Ma'am, everything will be okay. I just need you to listen to my voice and do as I say. Is that okay? Yeah, I think I can do that. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to get up. Can you do that? Okay, I'm standing in the aisle now. Good. Can you make your way to the front of the plane? I want you to locate the pilot at the controls. Can you do that? Yes, okay. I'm going to go down there. I'm making I'm there. Okay, what's... Oh my God. What's your name? Okay. My name is Hannah. Okay, Hannah, call me. My name is Athena and I'm at the doors to the controls where the pilot should be. The door is locked. Okay, can you knock on the door, Athena? Athena? I'm alright. Did you hear that? There was a noise behind the door. Let me see if I could just get it. Athena, are you okay? Athena? Oh God, I ran. I'm hiding behind a row of chairs, I think there's something in here with me. Something in there with you? Oh God, I'm gonna die. You're going to be fine. Athena. Speak to me. Oh my God, it's here. Hello, ma'am? Hello? I imagine I don't have very long. In fact, I'm confident that I'll be on the run shortly after I post this. That aside, I have a message for the entirety of mankind. We're in danger, all of us. I'm so sorry, but you're all going to die. But first, I want you to know what happened. I want to tell you my story. It began on November the 20th, with the beckon to the office of Executive Donald McGregor, the head of the Transnational Criminal Enterprise section for which I worked. I was briefed on the matter of the disappearance of 4 Americans in northwestern Bolivia. A professor of biology from Brown University and 3 of his students, a male called Chris Walowitz, a female named Chloe Fella, and another female student named Athena Shumlin, latter of which was the daughter of the Vermont governor Peter Shumlin. I was taken aback. Why hadn't I heard of this? I don't know. Apparently the local government in La Paz had been searching for them for the past week, to no avail. Their disappearance was originally speculated to be the doing of one of the several high-profile criminal organisations in the area. They had kidnapped tourists on numerous occasions and demanded ransoms from the US government. However, this time it was different. Though the Americans had disappeared in La Paz, all of the gangs had denied any and all responsibility for the occurrence. One could simply chalk it up to a simple robbery, kidnapping, murder, but something felt very off-putting about this case. I can't quite explain it, but looking back I should have known that something was wrong. It didn't make much sense, but perhaps it was more of a hush-hush matter. I was told that I would be partnered with the National Security Special Agent from Seattle installment of the Bureau, Mr. Frederick Henderson. We would be meeting in Bolivia's capital city the following day. I would have questioned this man's significance to the investigation and why this posed a threat to national security, but I had learned better. Mr. McGregor thought very ill of any possible insubordination. Let me say, I've spearheaded investigations of international organised crime on many occasions. I've seen what mobs in China can do to a human, and I've witnessed the atrocities committed by terrorist organisations in Iran. But regardless of their methodology, there's always been a reason, whether it be money or God, and it was my job to find out what that reason may be. I awoke at 5:30 a.m, readied myself and made my way to the airport. I won't bore you with the details of the flight. I had a few drinks and fell asleep. Upon arrival to the city of La Paz, I made haste to the American embassy. Okay, I'm just going to jump in here. Yeah, I'm aware that I'm English with an English accent doing an American story. Okay, let's move on. Once in the lobby, I was approached by a lanky young man in a jet black suit who promptly flashed his badge at me. Agent Gallagher, I presume, he said in a very soothing voice. He shook my hand, but I said nothing. I thought it was strange he was able to pick me out. He must have done a little homework. I'm Special Agent Henderson with the Department of National Security. May we journey to the conference room? I obliged and nodded. Not a word was said as we tracked our way through the halls of the consular and onward into a solid white room with a round cedar wood table in the middle. So, he said as we sat, I'm aware that you have experience with this type of situation. Kidnappings? Gestured positively. Hostage situations? Yeah, I've had some field of experience in tending to those kinds of matters. I just don't quite understand the potential motive here. He gave me a patient smile and nodded. From his briefcase he pulled out a manila envelope, and from the folder a detailed report of a young girl. So far, this is the only lead that I have, he said as he pushed the papers towards me. I began reading. Name, Athena Shumlin. Date of birth, July 15th, 1994. Hair colour, brown. Eye colour, brown. Noteworthy, daughter of Vermont Governor Peter Shumlin, ecology student at Brown University. I'm aware, I said. One would think that this would make national news. Yes, well, at least that explains why you're here, he said. Normally the local government would be exclusively involved, but we both have been cleared, arranged by Athena to be here. However, it doesn't explain why I'm here. Those were my thoughts as well. I'm clueless as to why this would indicate a threat to national security. Perhaps a plot of extortion or international lobbying. I hope to find out. We'll begin our investigation tomorrow at dawn. We shook hands, gave salutations, and I found my way to my room in the embassy, where I found it hard to rest. I stared at the ceiling for what felt like hours. I couldn't shake the feeling of oddity that shrouded this mission. When I was finally able to sleep, I was plagued with nightmares. They weren't very vivid, but I remember the symbols. It was like they were etched into my eyes, and they glowed against the blackness of my dream. I heard noises I couldn't quite discern and felt like I was being suffocated. As unsettling as this nightmare was, I wish I'd just stayed asleep. I awoke to a sound I'd never heard before in my life. It would be incorrect to refer to it as a screech, for the frequency was too low. Everything became blurry and then dark. In my unconsciousness, I heard the pounding. I heard my name being called over and over again. David. I awakened on the floor and someone was pounding at my door to my room. Gallagher, open up. Oddly enough, my head didn't hurt at all. I wondered if it had been a dream. I arose and scurried to the door. I opened it, and standing there was Agent Henderson in his comfortables. Did you fucking hear that? He said, wild-eyed. I nodded, yeah, but all I could think was to mutter, yeah. I have to say I was unbelievably relieved that I wasn't just losing my goddamn mind, but then I was also unbelievably terrified. What the hell was that? Did you see the jungle? You saw it? Was it a tornado or? I lived in Kansas for 23 years and never saw a tornado like that. What time is it? I turned around and looked at my bedside clock. 5:53. I had no idea how long I was out, but it couldn't have been for that long. We need to begin our investigation. Meet me in the lobby in half an hour. He practically bolted down the hall. I could tell he was proper eager now to get the job done and just leave this place. As I showered, I couldn't take my mind off what I saw. I had been in La Paz for one day and had already seen God knows what. I had a job to do, and people's lives were now potentially at stake. But truthfully, I didn't want to be within 100 miles of this place now. Between the gangs and these odd natural occurrences, it felt dangerous. I left my room and took the elevator to the lobby, and upon arrival I immediately noticed that there was something weird. No one was there, no visitors, no staff, not a soul was anywhere to be found. After a minute or so, I heard the elevator ding and out came Frederick. You're here? I went back to look for you, but there's no one there. I see. I wonder what happened. I'd rather not think too much about it. Let's be on guard. We'll begin searching at the hotel where the travellers were last seen. Hotel Europa. Should be about 3 kilometres from here. Wouldn't La Paz police already have done that? The embassy even? I would think that they had already taken all the evidence. Yeah, and they said nothing turned up, but they've preserved the scene for the FBI's arrival. I'd rather try this than be at a dead point. I thoroughly agreed. Because we couldn't find anyone to speak to about transportation from the embassy, we defaulted by taking a cab. The driver spoke piss poor broken English, but we were able to convey to him our destination. He kept eyeballing us in the back seat, almost examining us. Goddamn weirdos, I thought. We got to the hotel, waved our badges at the attendant and stated our business. She happily obliged us and gave us 4 room keys that we needed and a roster with 4 names on it and their respective rooms. First we checked the professor's room and went through his luggage but found nothing of use. We decided to move our search to the rooms where the girls were staying. Before we entered the first one, I peeked at the roster of who should be staying in which respective room, and 3 names were listed. Room 643, Stephanie McBrady. Room 644, Amelia Goines. Room 645, Alison Bates. What? I said, confounded. Henderson looked at me quizzically. There are 3 girls on the roster, but none of them are Shumlin's daughter. He slid the paper from my hands and furrowed his brow. There must be a mistake. Let's go to the desk. My stomach started to twist. Something was amiss, and I knew it. When we made our inquiry to the attendant who sat at the desk, she double-checked the reservations and assured us that no one named Athena Shumlin had been staying there. My blood ran cold. Frederick and I glanced at each other, thanked her, and headed back towards the elevator. I'm beginning to get a little uneasy, said Frederick. We need to see if there's anything in their rooms that helps clear this shit up. I felt a prickle on the back of my neck and turned around to see the attendant scowling at us and holding the desk phone to her ear. I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all, but I didn't mention it. We returned to the 6th floor and approached room 643. I fumbled the key card out of my pocket and opened the door reserved for Miss Stephanie McBrady. The room was as tidy as ever. In fact, it was hard to tell that someone had been staying there besides the closed suitcases by the window. There was no evidence of any kind of struggle or violent behaviour apparent in any way. And again, no laptops, no phone, nothing. Quite odd for somebody who's in their 20s and female. We did the same procedure for room 644 and again found nothing out of place. We checked under the bed, besides of it, inside the closet behind the TV, found nothing. I was starting to lose hope, but there was one room left, the room of Alison Bates. I reached into my pocket to grab the keycard, but I quickly noticed something. The door was already ajar. Frederick and I went on high alert and drew our weapons, cautiously entering the room. If this was somebody tampering with evidence, they were bound to be aggressive and even dangerous, but as we entered, there wasn't a soul in sight. However, what was immediately presented itself was a cell phone lying in plain sight on the nightstand. I motioned for Frederick to check the closet while I inspected the phone. Upon pressing the home screen, I discovered 68 calls from Mum and 163 from Gabriel. Thankfully, the phone didn't have a lock on it, so I navigated to the texts to find some useful information. It was sad, really. Countless texts from a mother and a significant other with desperate inquiries begging them to be okay. I'm not married and I don't have children. Hell, I've not even had a steady relationship for God knows how long. Checking through her phone, I found what I needed. Message from Mum. Where are you going today? I love you and miss you. Alison. Love you too, Mum. We're going to Madidi National Park today. Going to check out the wildlife. Now we had our lead. I showed my findings to Frederick and he seemed more than pleased. More than what I found in the closet, he said. Let's go to Madidi. Shall we request backup from the embassy? Nah, not yet. Let's do an initial investigation. I put the phone in my pocket and closed the door of room 645 behind me. We were finally able to contact the embassy and requested travel services to Madidi. They informed us that it would be another hour or so, as there were only one company vehicle in commission at the moment, and it was currently en route to service another US federal agent. Could you repeat that? Another federal agent? To my knowledge, Frederick and I were the only Americans operating in the country. The embassy employee reaffirmed what he said. I gave him my location and promptly hung up. Frederick and I were greatly troubled by this news. I suggested that he called his director for some answers, to which he agreed. When he took a stroll down the hall to make the phone call, I stood outside for what seemed like an hour looking out of the 6th floor window of the Hotel Europa. He said he has no idea what I'm talking about, said Frederick. I jumped a little bit and turned to face him. He said if another federal agent is here, he's not aware, and it's definitely not someone from the Bureau. There's no reason why anyone other than the FBI would still be here. Like, shit, well, I couldn't figure out why Frederick was even here. Well, we have an hour until pickup. 7:45. Let's kill some time in the lobby. We made our way back to the elevator and Frederick stopped me. He looked pale. Give me a minute, he said, holding his head. He shivered for a moment, as if to shake off some anxiety or something. It's fine, let's go. I wondered if he was afraid of the elevators or something, but he was fine on the way up. I didn't really pay much mind. I pressed the call button and, for a moment, a feeling of indescribable dread came over me, and a sharp pain burrowed into my skull. A moment of absolute silence, and then it felt as if a warhead had detonated under La Paz. The ground shook and threw me to the floor, but all I could think about were the blades pushing deep into my brain. I started to lose consciousness, but just before I did, I could see them again. The symbols, etched into my mind's eye. I wasn't dreaming then, but I wasn't dreaming at all. It was like I was actually seeing them in my sleep. I felt choked, almost like someone was sitting on my chest. I could hear sounds again, indecipherable warbles of speech. Feelings and emotions are usually dulled during sleep, but the terror present inside of me at that moment twisted me nearly into mania. Then silence once more. I came to just before Frederick and raised my head. All was calm. I stood up and leapt to my feet. "What the fuck, David?" he said. He tore his hand from mine, walked a few feet, and then vomited. He looked in a panic. "What the fuck?" I didn't know what to say. I didn't have to ask because I already knew. He had just experienced the same thing as me. I wondered if that meant he felt the same thing at the embassy last night. I shook my head again. "I have to call my director. I don't know what's going on here, but it's not safe." I felt sick. I considered everything from earthquakes to bioterrorism, but none of it seemed feasible. Let's take the stairs back down. On our way back down the stairwell, we heard what sounded like people talking at the bottom. We crept our way to the bottom floor and found that there was no one there. In my peripheral vision, I saw someone walk past the door. I hurriedly opened the door and looked down the corridor, but no one was there. There was nothing but dead silence in the first floor hall as we trekked back to the lobby. When we reached the desk, it was vacant, so I rang the bell and called for the attendant several times, but again, the whole place was deserted. "I'm getting fucking sick of this shit," snapped Frederick. He went behind the desk and began beating on the door and yelling for the attendant, but to no avail. I pulled out my phone to call Director McGregor, and my stomach crunched into knots. It was 2:27 in the morning. I wondered how that could even be possible. I got Frederick's attention and pointed to the clock behind the desk. He looked like he was about to faint. "How long were we out? How didn't someone find us up there?" I didn't know how to answer him. We missed our ride to Madidi. I'm going to step out and make a phone call, see if I can get a hold of the embassy again." I walked through the doors of the hotel and out into the streets, which seemed eerily quiet. As I unlocked my phone, a heavy wind flew from the north and carried it with a smell that I'll never forget. As a kid, my parents used to take me to the carnival to ride the old bumper cars, and the whole track smelled and oozed of ozone. It kind of smelled like that. I hurried my call so I could get back inside. When Donald answered, he sounded stressed. "Director McGregor, I've got a few things to talk to you about." "What is it?" He sounded a bit irritated, almost on edge. I explained to him about Athena Shumlin and her apparent absence from the hotel list. He paused for a moment and reassured that she must have been using an alias for her safety. However, if that was so, then what was the reason for her kidnap? It made no sense, but I didn't say anything. He was hiding something. "Anything else, Agent? I'm buried right now." "Sir, I've witnessed a few things here that make me question the general safety of the area." He said nothing. "There have been, earthquakes, explosions. Something is going on here." I didn't mention what I saw in the jungle. There was no point. "Earthquakes, Gallagher. They happen all the time. Anything else?" I told him no, and he quickly hung up. It was evident that we'd get no help from him. I entered the hotel and cleared my nostrils of the sick smell that blew in from the jungle. Frederick was sitting in the lobby waiting for me. "Not a damn thing. Nobody answered. I swear to God, when we get home, I'm having a word with the higher-ups about these idiots. We'll have to get a cab then." I phoned the cab service we used to get here, and thankfully they answered. They said there'll be 15 minutes. As we waited, Frederick and I made some small talk. The cab ride to the park only took about 20 minutes, and it was mostly silent except for the cab driver making a few pleasantries. He asked us why we were going to the park, to which I replied that it was classified government business. He gave us an odd look, but didn't say much after that. Before we got to the entrance of Madidi, he turned around and looked at us intently. "Be careful in there," he said, in a grave tone. "If you go too far, you'll cross into Toramono land. It's illegal to go in there, but that would have been the least of your worries if they saw you." I have no idea what Toramono were, or who they were, but I kept that warning tucked in the back of my mind. The entrance to the park was vague and nothing but a trail going up into the dense area. We followed that trail for what felt like forever, and to be honest, that was the nicest part of the whole trip. We saw some macaws and aardvarks. After half an hour or so, we found a small ravine and a speckled bear walking right out of the trees. We finally got out of the dense area and came into a bit more open area with creeks running through it. Along the edge of one creek ran a small red line of tape stitched along stakes in the ground. Peering past the edge of the creek, something caught my eye. A small glint of white lying on the ground. I pointed it out to Frederick, and we crossed the river in a hurry. I bent down to pick it up. and saw that it was a card. It was an ID card. A student ID card. On it was a picture of a beautiful, young, black-haired girl. Chloe Fella. Fucking bingo. Henderson and I discussed it for a bit, but he showed hesitance to go any further. Remembering the ominous warning that the cab driver gave us, I assured him that it would be fine. Honestly, what was the worst that could happen? I regret it more than anything. We continued up the trail for a good 15 minutes, and fortune smiled on us once again. A pair of sunglasses lay right in the middle of the forked trail going upwards into the trees. They were leaving us hints, smart people. But the problem was the fork. We talked it over for a moment and thought that it may be too late in the afternoon to cover both ways. "Guess we part ways for now," he said uneasily. "Don't worry," I assured him. "We're armed, it'll be fine." He nodded, and we parted ways. He turned around no less than 4 times to watch as we both dissipated into the shade of the Madidi jungle. I waved him off. I walked the trail for a very short while, and it eventually dissipated completely, but as the shadows of the trees grew, so did my paranoia. I could hear scuttling in the jungle. I could feel eyes on me. I convinced myself that I was being far too anxious. Nevertheless, I kept my hand on my weapon and trudged forward. About 10 minutes of walking, I had still found nothing, no sign of anyone being there. There were no footprints, no stray items. I figured that Frederick was having much more luck than I was. I came to a stop at a quaint little area where the trees opened up into a small pond. On the other end was a stocky but small predatory cat getting a drink. He saw me and sauntered off into the jungle. As I continued past the pond, I heard a noise. I stopped and focused my ears. Another noise. It sounded like gunshots. I took off in a sprint up the trail, and as I drew closer to the sound, my suspicions were confirmed. It was gunshots. I kept running as fast as I could, on through the trees, and I heard something that swung me into a panic. "David!" Fuck. It was Frederick. I called for him, but all I could hear was the yelling. I ran until my legs hurt and my lungs felt like they were in my stomach. But the yelling stopped in my ears, but was replaced by a swelling in my head. It sounded like a car running, but it got louder and louder. Soon, the piercing rumble from the hotel was back. I held my head and tried not to lose consciousness. I heard a booming sound and felt a slight tremble in the ground. Just above the trees to the west, I saw it again, the swirling black mass. This time, I could see it perfectly. It was as black as coal, raised into the sky as far as I could see, and then it just stopped. My heart was pounding, but I started running again, towards where the vortex had been, and up another vague trail where I could see the trees open once more. Once I reached the top, I stood above a clearing that looked like it had been cleared by 1,000 feet of fire in every radial direction. It was charred black. In a pentagonal fashion were placed 5 cross-like posts that looked like what scarecrows hung on. Below my feet, what I hadn't noticed, was a stone about the size of a headstone for a grave, and on it read an inscription. 5 corderos para el fuego, 2 cabras para el cielo, y porque se volverán al Azazel. It was Spanish. I searched my mind as best as I could and translated the stone. 5 lambs for the fire, 2 goats for the sky, and they shall return for Azazel. I panicked and ran as fast as I could, back the way I came. I could hear sounds behind me, odd hoots and scurrying in the trees. I ran back past the pond and towards the forked trail. I have never been so terrified in my life. I ran for almost 20 minutes back to the south. Just as I thought I had escaped, my foot caught on a tree, and I tripped. Then all went dark.